Hello, Pop Consumer Society. We're back. It's lunchtime, and we're going to talk about the Schumacher Cut, the lost version, the unfinished version of Batman Forever, the 1995 movie directed by Joel Schumacher, marking a turning point for the Batman character towards a lighter style, a lighter tone of the character. But it wasn't always like that. Because originally the movie had a rougher, more serious, deeper, darker vibe, which was very similar to what Tim Burton had done. But that was exactly Warner's fear that Batman would become too dark for the kids because they wanted to sell a lot of toys, sell a lot of action figures, sell a lot of Happy Meals. And that wasn't happening. Batman merchandise wasn't selling like it should because the movie didn't reach the kids. It was a little too violent. Parents wouldn't let their kids watch it. So Soften Batman turned Batman once again into a children's character. It was important at that time, so a big part of the movie was cut, and the movie got a lot shorter, and they included extra things to make it more kid-friendly, let's put it that way. We know that many times movies, especially for this audience, end up being a giant commercial for products related to the movie. And it's no different with Batman. So Batman Forever came out, Batman Eternamente, it was a success, made a good box office, found this new young audience, sold its toys easily, led to a sequel, Batman and Robin, which was heavily criticized, and left Batman in limbo until Nolan came along and gave The Dark Knight a totally new, serious, and realistic approach. Something, a prison he still hasn't escaped from. James Gunn is trying to get Batman out of that. Out of this trap of the realistic Batman, the possible Batman. But going back to the Schumacher cut, it got lost. There was a cut that Schumacher created, and it was his Batman before the studios interfered and changed a lot of things, similar to what happened with Zack Snyder when Zack Snyder was fired. Schumacher was not actually fired, but Snyder was fired and he left the movie unfinished. And it was later finished by Joss Whedon. Then the Snyder Cut campaign started, and they re-edited the movie again. They gave Snyder a ton of money, but this Schumacher version actually exists. Director Kevin Smith watched it and commented that it's 2 hours and 38 minutes long, which means there are 40 minutes of extra scenes. Never seen before? The movie remains unfinished after 40 minutes of extras with missing soundtracks and incomplete special effects in some scenes. You can tell by watching. So it's not really a cinematic experience. It's more like an experience, almost a curiosity about what this movie could have been. According to speculation, Warner needed to spend $5 million to finish the movie. But it's something that Warner doesn't want to touch. However, 2 weeks ago, this group here called Cinephile Video decided to hold a screening, not a public screening, but a screening for invited guests, a small screening for cinephiles and fans of the Schumacher Cut. They even announced it, sold tickets, and filled the room, and then the event got too big. The event grew larger than expected, garnering excessive media attention and widespread discussion. Warner Brothers Covery lawyers took notice and questioned the situation. What are you guys doing there? So a private screening ended up becoming something very public. And the lawyers from Warner Brothers Covery sent the famous cease and desist, which means forget about this idea before our lawyers start to play around. Remember that they were going to make a continuation of the Snyder Cut, but in audio, and they were doing a crowdfunding, and almost everything was set up. They even got some of the original actors from the movie, and then Warner came in with the cease and desist, and the idea died. The same thing. Look, you have the movie with you, you can do a private, closed screening. All right, but we're going to have to file a heavy lawsuit that will practically take the skin off your back. There was no way they canceled the screening of the Schumacher Cut. It's not going to happen anymore. And once again, we're left without it because Warner made this decision. Well, for two reasons. First, the issue of Batman's rights. He's a character owned by Warner, and you can't have a screening, especially a paid one, with a property that's covered by copyright and is a Batman movie, which isn't what Warner is working on right now, so promoting a Schumacher Cut is not in Warner's interest at this moment. They have a huge problem with Matt Reeves' Batman, which isn't moving forward. And they're going to promote another Batman. So releasing it on home box office max, not a chance. Releasing it in theaters, even less likely. And private screenings aren't allowed either. So Warner doesn't want to mess with Batman's priority, doesn't want to release Batman's priority for just anyone to screen it, especially since it's an incomplete film with sound issues, unfinished special effects. It would be an unfinished, unprofessional version of Batman, and Warner absolutely doesn't want that. The other reason is to avoid exposing the mismanagement of the executives over the creator, showing how much Warner interferes and changes the original idea of a film, something that has been weighing on the company for some time, and that would be another reason for criticism and for the discrediting of Warner Brothers itself. So for these two reasons, they don't want people to see the unfinished content, and they also don't want to raise this issue. They don't want to start another Snyder Cut movement with Josh Marker's Batman at a time when Warner has other concerns for Batman. So, putting it all together, you have this cauldron, there won't be any more screenings, and it will really remain a lost link among the cancelled Warner Brothers movies. Discovery says there are many, many director's cuts stored away, and that it's kind of like a lost ark. There's a warehouse full of unfinished movies, full of cancelled things that would be very, very, very welcome in the eyes of the fans. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about. What do you think about this whole story? Did Warner do the right thing or the wrong thing? Write down here in the comments. I'll be back soon with more. I'm Dr. Pop, and options are already showing up on the screen for you to click and stay with me a little longer. See you later. See you soon. See you in a bit. Bye.